Welcome back to another episode of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. When we left our investigators, Halloween night at the library was only just getting started. We have a visiting guest named Hamish Mackenzie, who traveled to Seattle from the illustrious Rose House of London, another organization responsible for investigating supernatural mysteries involving the Vossen. Our heroes were recommended by Matthias as the best and brightest of the library, to act as guides for Hamish during the evening's festivities. What they don't know yet is that Hamish has another mission he's on this evening. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we can learn about that, we need to keep an eye on Sofie and Dr. Jensen. Sofie just received a strange, prophetic message from her maybe girlfriend, Mira Asketil, who warned her that a terrible doom is coming her way. Could this be connected to the mysterious runes running down Sofie's arm and back? And Dr. Jensen was just contacted by a blackmailer named Victor Conway, who claimed to know secrets about his past that Sam Hazard is looking for. Conway implied our good doctor was associated with the nickname the Butcher of Richmond, and implied Dr. Jensen may not have fought just for the Union during the Civil War. Oh, did I mention that these dramatic events are all unfolding while everyone is in costume? Lucius is currently wrapped in gauze and bandages like a mummy. Sofie is dressed as a huera, or lakewife, complete with a little cow costume for Jorts. Hamish Mackenzie is dressed as a giant. And Julian is barely wearing anything at all, and is dressed as an incubus. Whew! Alright, that should be everything so far. Okay, Bill, take it away.
Well, it depends on what you find, and if you bring them to me, maybe yes, there can be something that can be arranged. But...
Oh, Doc, you seem confused. I'm not talking about a short-term arrangement. I'm talking about we have a long-term arrangement.
And I'm talking about you wanting to keep your mouth shut, if you know what's good for you. So let's do this. You leave here tonight, and you don't speak to anyone else. And maybe you or one of your representatives comes by the clinic feeling a little ill, and we can talk about this more. But not here, not now.
We could talk, Doc. We'll talk.
Get out of here.
I'll be seeing you. And he flips up his little hood. Well, maybe I won't, but my people will.
We shall see.
Pleasure doing business with you.
Dr. Jensen will sit there for a moment after Vic leaves and compose himself, takes a pull from his flask, deep breath, and will return back to Julian and Hamish.
All right, I realize I, as Julian, did not hear any of that, but damn, the brass balls on Dr. J. Way to go, man. That was amazing.
Bill, I actually included in my note, if Dr. Jensen roughs him up, he increases the amount of blackmail money by X value.
Oh, no.
Because I was like 50-50 shot it's going to happen.
Oh, no. It was a very strong possibility, but the fact that there are guests and that we've had, that more importantly, our friends are nearby, is what's kind of
keeping his hand for now.
Keeping him in line from pulling out his brass knuckles.
I am very excited to see where this one goes, because I, the DM, have no fucking idea.
The brass knuckles that match is brass knuckles.
I don't know, but I can't wait for Sofie to double her kill count because of this.
Well, I don't know how double is going to work. We haven't established the baseline yet.
Yeah, you don't know.
Her on-camera kill count.
You don't know. There's a lot of people.
I like the ambition for doubling it.
There's a lot of people in that hospital the sanatorium. So
come to think of it, didn't you killed like the one right away? Mm-hmm. I think I killed 2 on the way out, didn't I?
I think you did.
You straight up blasted 2 guys dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian's magic dice.
Mm-hmm.
Brian's magic murder dice.
Right? Murder dice.
let's focus in and get back to it. And since we were just talking about the murderess Sofie, where did we leave her again? Oh, right. Chasing after Mira up a hidden stairway, somewhere away from prying eyes. Before Mira can spring away, Sofie catches her wrist. The two lean close, exchanging a few private words that aren't meant for us to hear. Our focus drifts away from them and to one of the pockets of Sofie's skirts. While she remains distracted, this is obviously a perfect opportunity, and with an elegant and not at all awkward tumble, Jorts slips free and lands mostly on his feet. He shakes himself off and begins pawing at the cow costume he's been put into. He manages at best to knock the horns askew, leaving them hanging below his chin like the tusks of a mighty walrus. Perhaps in his mind, he looks far more fearsome, like some great saber-toothed hunter from somewhere in the ancient bloodline of cats. But he's mostly just awkward, and begins dragging the stuffed horns across the floor. With one last shake, he manages to free himself from the costume, and pads happily away, giving Sofie and Mira their moment of privacy. He glides through the halls and hidden passageways of the library, watching humans in strange costumes pretending to be weird things. Jorts knows they should be fine, though, since none of them make his nose tingle. Thinking about his nose slows his rambling pace, and he begins to consider the smells in the air around him. He freezes as an interesting scent drifts across his pink little nose. Not of Asen, but food. Jorts' eyes become focused when he spots a small plate left unattended on an end table. Intent not to miss a golden opportunity, he weaves between Partier's legs and then breaks into a gallop. He leaps up, grabbing a ham steak in his mouth, and then takes off at a sprint as he accidentally tips the plate and sends it and the silverware crashing to the floor, his fluffy tail dragging through a pool of spilled gravy as he makes his exit. Jorts happily galumps down the hall, carrying his treasure in his mouth, looking for an empty spot to enjoy some fine dining. He dodges past partygoers' legs, avoiding ghosts in burial shrouds and goblins covered in rags. He stops short at the end of the hall, as he sees a familiar black form detach itself from the shadows. Spooky. One of the library's resident mousers and hunting cats prowls towards him. Jorts happily drops the slice of ham, eagerly purring at his new friend. Spooky responds with a quick smack to the nose, sending Jorts tumbling backwards. The black cat claws the ham steak towards himself and pulls it back into the shadows to enjoy his stolen meal. Never one to be fazed by, frankly, anything, Jorts takes a few minutes to happily groom the gravy off of his tail. His ears flick towards an open window when he hears a faint noise. He springs up onto a chair, and then out the window and onto the grounds below. Thankfully, he discovers mid-leap that he was on the first floor. He sneaks towards a beautiful new garden, complete with an elaborate shrine at its center. Jorts crouches low, stalking forward a small step at a time. A group of tiny, bite-sized creatures have gathered at the foot of the statue. One stands regal and proud, a small crown atop its owl-like head. By its side, in a dress made from a linen napkin, is a similar creature, but with a cat-like face. Jorts slinks closer, and is barely able to hear their tiny voices say words like pronounced and marriage. The tip of his tail wiggles faster, as they all begin to make quick, celebratory motions. His irises narrow, and then his eyes cross with focus and attention. Suddenly, a familiar scent tickles his nose, and he sneezes loudly. The tiny creatures scream and scatter. Jorts fumbles forward, but they've all disappeared back into the cracks in the wall and are hiding in the library once more. Despite his failure to catch any of them, the cat remains confident that he is, in fact, the mightiest of hunters. He wanders back into the library until he again finds Sofie. He brushes up eagerly against her leg, leaving a trail of leaves and moss that had gotten scattered across his fur, purring contentedly. You know, it's kind of a shame you can't get any level ups for Jorts, Aaron. Maybe I'll add something so that he can give, like, I don't know, a dumb luck bonus or something.
Yes.
Ooh, although, speaking of level ups, it sounds like Bill might need to be investing in more resources soon.
What? What?
I mean, to at least hire thugs to chase this guy down.
I mean, why does he need to hire thugs? He's got us. We have guns.
Aw, you have thug power.
I shouldn't have let you talk me out of taking that extra wealth.
I'm gonna go to Sofie and go, look, I have this unscrupulous book dealer who's trying to scalp books from people. And bam.
Just go up to Sofie and be like, you see that motherfucker? He dog ears the pages. Get him. But this might be a good idea to talk about some investments that y'all have made. Let's talk a little bit about what level ups you've gotten. Bill, what has Dr. Jensen recently picked up?
Well, so given our adventures in Fremont with the troll, Dr. Jensen, while he's sufficiently brushed up on his medicine, he's needing to kind of continue his focus, his studies. So he has added 3 points to his investigation skill and 1 point to his vigilance skill. So investigation is now maxed out at 5, vigilance is now at 2.
Right, he's going to be ready to spot this guy the next time he tries to sneak up and ask for bribes.
Trying to get there.
And Aaron, what has Sofie gained in her recent level ups?
Can I make things up right now that I didn't say before?
Yes.
Yay.
You are committed once they're on mic, though.
Yeah, it's okay.
Then you're locked in.
So originally I had taken, I increased my range skill by 1, which gives me 3. And I had increased my learning to the max of 5. And I took the trait called Focused, which means I get to ignore conditions on investigation checks. So I believe that's learning and investigation now, that I can ignore conditions.
Nice.
And just this very moment, I have decided to increase my force by 1 because it's funny. Because flavor is important.
I mean, you've been carrying those books around. You have
Exactly.
got to be building up some.
Especially like her like core muscles, like her arms aren't that ripped, but like her core muscles and her legs are just like thick as hell.
She's got one of those Bruce Lee 16 packs.
Right. If anything, she's like a little bit thicker looking. Like she didn't lean down. Like she's, a little more stout, but it's like muscle underneath,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also going to add 1 more to my observation for a total of 4.
Perfect. And Phoenix, what has Julian gained from his level ups?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'm glad you asked.
Why did I not have this ready in front of me? I had plenty of time. Okay, yeah. Julian, I have been spending some time honing my craft in a few ways here. So I have maxed out both my manipulation and inspiration at 5. And I have also been spending a little bit of time practicing my aim and increased my range combat to 4.
Excellent. So Sofie and Dr. Jensen kind of return to the group, looking, in some ways, a little bit similarly muddled, maybe a little confused by some of the information just delivered to them. One of them probably much more grumpy about the way that information was delivered.
I was going to say, Sofie probably looks concerned, and Dr. J probably looks pissed.
Meanwhile, I'm just happy to be hanging out with my new friend, Hamish, and just listening to him talk. It's fantastic.
Right? It's true.
And the four of you begin to hear a low, sonorous drum beat.
Uh-oh.
Jumanji.
Yep. Switching gears. The campaign is Jumanji now. Several of those robed figures begin scurrying around, bringing out torches. And a procession begins to get organized.
Is this expected? Is this something would have, or is this like completely out of the blue? It seems very strange.
For Dr. Jensen, definitely unexpected. Has Sofie or Julian been here for a Halloween before?
I'm sure Sofie would have, and probably Julian too, right?
I think it's fair to say I've been here for at least a year. So
At least one. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is something that you would expect. And slowly, people begin to move out of the house in their costumes. And those torches begin to be lit from torch to torch. And arriving at the back of the procession, you spot Morrison Sisko, your gardener. He is dressed in an elaborate leaf and floral costume, dressed as the Green Man. And he is carrying an enormous stick that has an effigy of the devil made from pumpkins, straw, and various harvest vegetables.
Fantastic.
The procession slowly makes its way, circling around the entire library, before eventually reaching the backyards. As you circle past the beautiful new botanical garden that Morrison is helping maintain for you, where you've set up a little tiny shrine to the late Queen Moss. And finally, in a large cleared area, there is a massive pyre of sticks that has been set up. Your procession with your torches circles slowly around it, led by Matthias. And Morrison eventually plants this effigy of the devil in the center of the bonfire. The members of the library gather around, and then Matthias speaks up to the gathered crowd. We members of the library stand here together. We act in defense of mankind. I wish all of you now to speak the words of the ancient oath of Artemis, to confirm and affirm our defense of man and Vasen.
Julian, make a learning test to know what the words are.
I was actually
Even Dr. J has been briefed on this before.
okay. I was about to say I was going to start kind of prompting Dr. J for the words here, but I've done this before, Sofie.
Now, the three of you know this is not something that happens very often. At the library, you tend to think of kind of the library's motto as being something you take more to heart, which is emblazoned on that marble plaque on the door. But every now and then, for certain ritual events, they will say this old oath. Now, in what is likely to be disastrous, do we as a team want to all try and say this?
What?
Like at the same time, like a scout meeting? Or?
Yes.
I am 100% up for this.
Okay.
So in Roll20, you've got the Society of Artemis's Sacred Creed. Let me first ask, are there any of you who don't swear the oath?
Well, you're intriguing me with that idea, but no, I think I would. Yeah, no.
Probably not. No.
Probably not do it, or probably
Not objecting to swearing
got it.
or saying the creed.
Mm-hmm. And is it something that Sofie might have any objections to?
No, I think she's okay.
Did this carry over to the Apollo Society?
This is almost exactly the same as the oath that they swear there.
Okay.
Corey, interestingly, at the Rose House, they will say this before every mission they go out on.
Dedication. We're fucking casuals over here.
Absolutely the case.
Well, you've got old tradition back where I'm from, and you're all new.
Now, I'm sure this is going to be a complete and utter disaster. Do the 5 of us want to try and say this oath like a Boy Scout oath, and then do the library motto?
Oh, but of course.
Oh my god. All right.
Hannah, we're counting on you.
No, it's going to go great.
So we're going with the Society of Artemis Sacred Creed is what we're reading here, yes?
Yep. And then after that, the members of the library will read the library's motto in Norwegian.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Which I will give you all a break on if you don't want to do that. I'll let you just stick to the English.
Fright Viker for Kunskap. Yeah, this is going to go well.
Beautiful. Perfect. No notes.
No notes.
Me and Brian can do the Norwegian part. It'll be fine.
All right. On 3, 2, 1, go.
I
solemnly swear not to be corrupted,
bloodied,
or weakened
by
the
spawn
spawn
of
the
underworld.
I
I
swear
swear
not
not to let my mind be muddled, clear
clear
of
eye,
eye,
keen
keen
of
of
thought.
thought, pure of deed.
I swear to put the society before my own ambitions and emotions. My life for my comrades. I pledge my life to you, holy Artemis,
For the battle between Vasan and the protection of mankind. And then Matthias will lead everyone in the library's motto: Frykt viker for kunskap, kunskap viker for wisdom, wisdom viker for sannhet. Which means fear gives way to knowledge, knowledge gives way to wisdom, and wisdom gives way to the truth. And then, as one, everyone throws those torches onto the bonfire. There is a raucous applause and cheering from the assembled members of the library. And then those same servants that you saw earlier come rushing out with cakes and alcoholic cider. Now, I have very exciting news about these cakes. This is an old Victorian tradition called needle cake. And it predicts what your future will hold.
Oh no.
Especially in the prospect of romance. So, each cake has multiple little items that are baked into it.
Is this like king cake?
Yes, but with more shit, and some of it's dangerous.
Great.
I mean, I was just saying, it's called needle cake. I'm afraid of a needle.
All right, so are Sofie, Julian, and Dr. Jensen going to be sampling this cake?
I mean, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, why not?
There's cake.
All right, can I get the 3 of you to roll a D66?
I got a 64.
64, number to beat.
I got a 16.
16, low number to beat.
53 for...
All right, and Phoenix got a 53. Sofie, you find in your needle cake a silver ring. This promises that you will soon find love and the person you are intended to marry.
Well, let's not get carried away.
Phoenix, you found a dime. This promises to bring wealth and fortune. At the start of the next mystery, you get +3 capital.
I mean, at this point, we're forcing you to become filthy rich.
Right?
Yeah.
Bill, you found a needle in your piece of cake.
I knew it!
Which means You will never marry and forever be a spinster or bachelor.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
so he just unscrews his flask. Oh, yep.
Dr. Jensen, like, I don't know if I should eat this cake. It might have a needle in it. Oh, it had a needle in it.
This cake tastes like tetanus.
We now know where the tradition of razor blades in your Halloween candy came from.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Jensen's now telling everyone on Halloween, don't eat that. There's a razor blade or a needle stuck into it.
Who knew?
I prefer to think that they put, like, not crochet, like the big fat kind of needles, like, not like a needle that would, like...
It's a sewing needle.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Also, some of them have thimbles baked into them.
That's better than a needle.
So you got to be just real careful with the cake as you pull it apart. Check it in. Are there any scenes or NPCs that your characters want to interact with? Anything else that you want to do at the Halloween festivities?
I do think that, like, after all this, Sofie is, she's done the oath and everything, and she didn't really ever think about it before, but she's kind of listening to the words when she's saying them this time a little more closely. And she's thinking about what Mira said and what happened with the troll. And I think she's going to go, like, into an empty room of the library and sit with Jorts for a few minutes and just, I mean, she's not going to cry because she doesn't do that, but she's just going to, like, try to take a few deep breaths and hope that nothing is going to change between her and the library and her friends, even if something changes about her.
Excellent. All right, so Sofie kind of takes a moment to kind of pull herself together while in this kind of unused area of the library, just kind of catching her breath after everything going on outside. Now that I think about it, we never got a really good chance to hear all about Sofie's costume. Erin, do you want to tell us what kind of Sofie is wearing as she is a Huera?
Yeah, so she'll maybe kind of look at her costume, as she's, there's maybe some glass doors on some of the shelves in the library, and, she kind of admires what her girls helped her put together. So she's got, like, they've put a lot of little braids in her hair and braided them with, like, green and blue ribbons to kind of mimic seaweed. And her outfit is just, underneath is just kind of a dark blue dress, but then it's got all of these sort of strips and bits of blue and green fabric that are really sort of floaty. So when she's walking around, it looks like kind of waves, like you can see her through the waves.
Awesome.
And then, of course, we have Jorts, who has, been getting up to shenanigans. But originally, at the beginning of the night, he had on maybe a partial cow costume. Kind of hard to keep costumes on him. But he did have a little bell. Hopefully he's retained the little bell.
And little horns, I think.
Yes, little cow horns.
Oh, yeah. He's still got the bell on.
Yes.
He has managed to wriggle out of the rest of the costume.
Yeah, typical.
And once you found him again, he only had a little bit of gravy on him.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, I've seen far worse.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for an orange cat? Yeah.
I mean, I did find him in the garbage, so.
Or did he find you?
He did. He definitely found me. It's true.
So Sofie has taken kind of a minute to sort of put herself together, make sure that everything still looks in place, when she hears a creaking behind her. And looking back, you see old Agda, who is wheeling her way into the room.
Oh, is Agda in costume?
She is. She is still in her costume as a giant.
Oh, that's right.
It doesn't look like much of a costume. She did put ram's horns onto her dog and insisted he was a hellhound.
Well, of course he is.
But Agda honestly looks pretty much exactly like she normally does.
Yeah. Sounds about right. She'll just sort of imaginary dust off of her costume and turn to face Agda. Agda, how have you been enjoying the festivities?
Well, after everyone left and went outside, it's been very quiet in here. I can't say I mind it much.
Understandable. Well, Thorn certainly looks, quite intimidating in his costume. Very nice.
Well, I hope it'll keep any of the revelers out of the library once there are a few too many cups deep.
Oh, I believe that might have occurred quite early in the evening. At least for some of our companions.
Nobody at the library, at least. Cups deep, probably, yes, but
Yes.
when a party happens, that tends to be the case.
It's very true, and many of us did need to let off a little steam, so I can't blame them.
Speaking of, Sofie, why are you in here and not out frolicking with them around the bonfire?
You know, Agda, I don't really feel quite like frolicking. I've been just thinking about the oath and about some of our adventures recently, and it's just, things can be a bit heavy around here, can't they?
That they can. That they can, Sofie.
Well, perhaps I do need to revel a bit more. Maybe that would help me not be so serious,
Well, you know what I always say. Whenever the heart grows heavy and times are trying, the best way to put it behind you is to put someone under you.
Agda! That's actually quite good advice, I must say. I didn't expect it from you.
I mean, it's never served me wrong.
That's brilliant. Oh, well, now that you mention it. And she'll get up and walk out of the room. And she'll peek back in as she's leaving. Thank you so much, Agda.
Of course, Sofie, of course. As Sofie kind of exits, Agda chuckles to herself. Don't let them change you, girl. And she will wheel her way back into the library. And Dr. Jensen and Julian, anything you guys are doing?
I think Dr. Jensen will be sticking just with Julian and Hamish, just out of polite company, but he is fairly distracted. He's constantly looking over at which
At the various
servants
servants
are around,
Mhm.
always keeping kind of a leery eye, and he is just not. I mean, he's not paying attention. He's not present. But apart from just physically being there, he's thinking about what he'll have to do next.
Excellent.
So I have two things in light of hearing from Dr. J there. First and foremost, I think I would be spending probably a significant amount of time with Anne and just laughing, reminiscing, making sure she's okay, checking in on her, and probably just laughing and sharing memories of our time together as friends within the sporting house. How is she? How is she doing?
She's doing super good. She and Jeremy have settled into a place together in Ballard. He has, sure enough, gotten a job just as a clerk. She is doing some legit seamstress work now. And is just loving her new life. It is a little less glamorous. It is certainly paying less. But she's feeling really happy.
Her mother-in-law hasn't found out a way to come and kill us yet?
Not yet.
Great.
Yet.
Don't worry, I'm still rolling for threats every session. I mean, don't worry about it.
And then I guess the other thing is, just in light of what I'm hearing from Dr. J there, like, am I picking up on any of his just angst, just his demeanor?
He seems more grumpy than usual.
So, okay. Yeah, just as the night kind of continues, and I see him maybe drinking a little more heavily and just looking a little more dour than I'm used to from you. Just kind of come on up over to you, just in between, any conversations that you might be having. You've been hitting your flask a little harder than normal tonight. You doing okay, my friend?
Oh, yes, just some of the, seeing some of the faces, some of the people we've helped, and thinking about what we've been through just started hitting me on how much has changed in the short time I've been here.
I'm not along with that. And kind of motion over toward Anne and Jeremy and just tell you about, she's been doing really well. I think we've really kind of set her on a good course. She's out of the house and things are going well. It's a lot to take in.
How? Oh, yes, yeah. Yes, that's very good to hear. I'm happy for the young couple that they're starting starting off their new lives on the right foot.
And in clarification, Thomas, not Jeremy.
Pardon, Thomas.
Could have fooled me.
So yeah, her and her new husband Matthias, they've been spending a lot of time.
You're the worst.
Huh? Oh yeah, Matthias, great young man for her. Yes.
So, just hearing this again out of you, I'm just gonna kind of try to catch your attention, just kind of look you straight in the eye. Dr. Jensen, Lucius, you know what I do for a living outside of the library, correct?
He kind of gives you a more focused but stern and like, what are you getting at kind of look.
What I'm getting at is I speak with and work with and entertain, and I just kind of let it trail off, a lot of people who tell lies. I've gotten pretty good at it, picking up on it. You're not very good at it. Is there anything I can do? You're not okay tonight, and I feel like it's more than... it is. When I first developed the site, and I actually do shudder a little bit as I think back on it, it is a lot to take in, but this seems like more than that. And I put a very non-Julian hand on your shoulder, and I just want to make sure, we're colleagues, we're friends. Are you all right?
Point of order question here. Julian is still naked as a jaybird, talking to him.
Pretty close.
And you are wrapped in gauze as a mummy.
Okay.
This is hilarious when you think of it with that context.
I'm not naked. I'm just close.
Suggestive.
On display.
There's a loincloth happening.
I'm thinking more like the Red Hot Chili Peppers tube sock kind of.
Oh my god.
I did need to be real careful when we were throwing those torches on the bonfire. It was a little bit of a harrowing moment there, but I got through it. It's fine.
Jeez Louise.
So Lucius will kind of take a deep breath. He will look straight into Julian's eyes. He will then take out his flask, drink, stop, hand you it, looking to you to take a swing.
I'm gonna... I know we're not doing the other game, but I'm gonna roll myself a D100 here just to see what I'm gonna do with that, because I have two ways that I could go with that. So I'm just going to check out a percentile dice here. On a 12, I take that flask from you, and I'd say that I pocket it, but I don't have any pockets. So I kind of hold up the flask, kind of tip my head to you a little bit, screw the cap back on, and just kind of hold on to it.
A little more annoyed now, Lucius will look at Julian. You're right. A lot's happened recently, and it might surprise you, it might not surprise you, but the creatures we've met, even those that wished us harm, are not always the real monsters here. And unfortunately, I got a full reminder of that tonight. So if you don't mind, and he'll hold out his hand looking to get the flask back.
I'm going to push this a little farther, Bill, and we'll see how it goes. You hold out your hand. Obviously, I can tell you're expecting the flask back. And again, I just kind of hold it up in my hand, kind of tapping it with my other hand. You know, maybe I'll just hold on to this for tonight. I'll give it back to you in the morning.
You see Lucius kind of clench his jaw, and there's a moment where Lucius isn't sure if he should yell at you, or really like scream at you, or forcefully try and grab your hand to take the flask back. And then he will blink. You will hear him mutter, "Fuck it. I have more liquor in my bag," and he will just storm off and just leave. And yeah, he won't say goodbye to anyone. He just beelines it back towards the infirmary where he had some of his liquor, and I don't know if we kept the cocoa wine or not.
I was gonna say, it's your loss. You took the wrong flask because he's got the good stuff back in his room.
We'll cover what Dr. Jensen may wind up drinking later on.
Yeah, as you turn away, I will call out after you. I'm sorry, but I am here. And there's none of the very typical Julian cavalier dismissive. It seems heartfelt. But as you turn away, I will go ahead, and I'm just going to say I'm going to put that flask somewhere within the library that is what I would consider a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have anywhere to hold on to it on my person right now. So I do want to keep it safe, and full intention of giving it back to you later on.
All right. And what the two of you missed was that Hamish was relatively close and in earshot of all of that.
That's fair.
Corey, ignoring the chat.
Wait, no, don't ignore the
That's
chat.
hard to ignore. That's
Say
pretty
it.
good.
Somebody say it for the listeners.
Corey has just written into
So
our
there was
group
a suggestion
chat
about
after you, Phoenix.
making use of the G-string of holding.
The banana hammock of holding.
I mean, that is full.
Anyways. Corey, what does Hamish think, having kind of seen the group no longer quite on their best behavior this evening?
So he's been definitely kind of like watching pretty closely as far as seeing what they're doing, trying not necessarily...
not being obtrusive about it.
Yeah, not being obtrusive, not like butting in, but definitely you can see him kind of like... And I assume like we kind of walked out here with the torches, but like carrying our drinks still, like I still have something in my hand kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can see him kind of like pretending to be very interested in like in his cup and what he's drinking, but if you are looking closely, you can see that he's like barely actually sipping it. He's more just kind of bringing it to his lips and putting it down and kind of looking around, but you can tell he's definitely kind of interested to kind of see how things are unfolding around. And you can definitely see kind of a look of, for maybe lack of a better term, shared or a recognition of maybe like shared pain or shared trauma, kind of seeing it across from these kind of younger members here.
Mm-hmm.
And probably as Lucius is walking away, I'll kind of sidle back over to Julian. Is he going to be all right?
Oh, yeah. Just and again, I kind of hold up the flask. Just a little too much tonight, I think. He'll be all right.
I know a bit about that. It tends to happen. This is quite the party you got going on here. Is it pretty common for you guys to do this big of a shindig?
GM, I'm assuming it's not at the library.
Not this level of kind of celebration. This is something really reserved for just Halloween and also Christmas festivities.
Okay. So in response to that, there is definitely the reestablishment of the
face.
The happy-go-lucky Julian. Yes, he is putting his face back on. And, oh, well, I mean, here at the library, it's the library. I mean, Halloween, absolutely. Christmas, good times there. I always bring an extra supply of mistletoe. But if you really want to talk about a good party, I can certainly show you some better areas than perhaps the library for such activities.
Oh, I guess I'm maybe a little bit less interested in the parties and a bit more interested in what traditions y'all tend to keep here. You know, we're pretty steeped over back in the Rose House, so there's a lot that we tend to follow, and there's a lot of parties, well, not parties, but a lot of gatherings and other sorts of bits of ritual that you have to kind of keep up on. And, you know, for somebody who spent most of their life getting hit in the head on the pitch, it's kind of hard to keep up.
Well, you seem to be doing a fine job as far as I can tell. And as you describe the rituals and kind of what is happening over back in the old world, I would definitely want to find out, legitimately interested, a little bit more about like what those are, kind of what that looks like. I probably don't have a lot of stuff to share about things that are going here as far as those like rites or rituals of what I've seen within the library. I would tell you about memories of being a younger man back in the Philippines and just some of the gatherings around the lechon. So barbecued pig, essentially, and just the memories I have of that.
That sounds wonderful. On my trip over here, I actually got to meet someone from the Philippines as well named Miko, and they told me about lumpia. I'd be very interested to try some if you have some here.
You know, I don't, but I think I know where we can make this happen if you have the time.
Oh, you're twisting my arm here, Julian.
My father is, about as rough and tough as they come. Maybe not quite, and I kind of, just point to just the grizzled and sounds like pretty buff exterior of Hamish. Maybe not quite as filled out as present company, but puts up a big front. But he's actually a fantastic chef. If you'd like to accompany me over to Seattle when you have some time, I'll introduce you. I'm sure we can make this happen.
That sounds lovely. I'd love it.
All right. And so we begin to kind of fade out on the scene. Dr. Jensen plodding through the dark with a lantern heading back to the infirmary. Yeah.
I was just thinking about it, and I'm gonna make this weird for everybody. If Corey's okay with it, I think that Sofie might proposition Hamish. Not but she's got sometimes she probably goes and hangs out with Mira, hangs out, quote unquote. And, Mira left. She dropped some news and then left.
Which is very Mira.
Which is typical. And she's, feeling, she wants a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows that Hamish is older, he's experienced, he's not gonna be here forever, he's only gonna be here for a while, and he probably is mature enough that obviously not necessarily her usual type.
But he's got a beard that could be braided.
But he has a beard that could be braided. So, if Sofie just thinks about the possibilities of the beard, then she's like, it's fine. Yeah, I'm there. And, yeah, she just wants a distraction. So if you're okay with it, like, she would just kind of sort of matter-of-factly just go and talk to Hamish and just be like, I'm in need of a distraction this evening, so if you have no other plans, you're welcome to join me.
Man, that silver ring works quick.
Right?
And is am I still kind of with Julian at this time when
No, I would wait until the others were. It wouldn't.
The evening was winding down.
Yeah.
Julian's always there. He always knows.
So yeah,
I'm Batman.
Julian's ears probably itch whenever Sofie gets, or whenever one of his friends gets laid. He's like, "Oh, I've done well." It's my influence rubbing off on them.
I'm gonna spill the tea about this later.
So yeah, so as Sofie is kind of approaching and talking to Hamish about it, she would kind of notice a glint in his eye of more caring than anything, if you can imagine. And he'd look at her pretty seriously and say, while I would certainly love at least to hear more about the books in the library, but I do have to be clear. There was a lass that was the only lass for me, and I lost her some time ago, but I'm not done yet with her. But I would love to hear what your favourite book in the library is.
Understood. And she'll just take his arm and take him somewhere else in the library to talk about books. Because, if she can't get laid, books are a very close second. So it's totally fine.
Julian, who totally overheard this, is just sitting there with, both hands up to his mouth and the anime sparkles in his eyes, hearing about this.
All right, so we slowly kind of fade out as Sofie is taking Hamish through the library to discuss some books, and at least spend the evening not alone with her thoughts. Unlike Dr. Jensen, who is sitting alone in the infirmary, pondering options and bottles and choices and past decisions. And Julian is thinking about catching up with his father soon, enjoying some wonderful cooking. We fade away and come back on Hamish a few days later as he is traveling by train. Corey, what does Hamish's letter say?
Dear Master Mackenzie, thank you for undertaking this task on behalf of the Apollonian Society of London. It is no small feat crossing over the far corner of the Americas, and we know you're up for this challenge. Your mission is to evaluate the members of this library of metaphysical knowledge in defense of mankind on the grounds of personal character, sense of duty to the cause, and familiarity with the rituals and practices associated with our wider society. We believe that it is most suspicious that this offshoot of the Scandinavian Society fled Bergen and only appeared to rise to prominence a few scant months before the Oulu massacre, which all but destroyed our Swedish brethren in northern Finland and nearly took the Society of Artemis off the playing field. Now, a century later, that organization is only just pulling itself together. Perhaps it was mere coincidence, but we must know whether they are truly doing the work of banishing malevolent Vaesen, or if, perhaps, there is something darker afoot. We look forward to your report on this colonial order, and shall weight it heavily in our decision to provide further correspondence in aid. Signed, Alistair Blackwood, Treasurer and Shadowmaker.
We will catch up with Hamish's report and how he is raiding the members of the society later on. However, I also have an epilogue for us. And y'all are going to want to hold on to your butts for this one.
Oh no!
Oh yeah!
I'm so proud.
You in particular should brace yourself, Aaron, because next mystery is the Sofie-centered one.
I know. I'm so scared.
I'm just saying, remember what I did to Phoenix during the Julian-centered mystery.
I know.
This is going to be so much worse. I'm so excited.
You guys...
In a world where Sofie is driven mad.
Right?
Give it time. Give it time.
Everyone dies. That's the end of the movie. That's it.
A few weeks after the Halloween celebration, we find ourselves in Ballard on a cold and rainy night. The moon is hidden behind a thick bank of gray clouds that cover the sky, and a steady drizzle spits down from overhead. Sofie's home has grown, now taking up a large portion of the block. The house itself has several additions placed upon it in order to house its many inhabitants, and the long street stretches away from it, lit every 30 feet by hooded kerosene lamps. Occasionally, a heavy raindrop will plunk atop these metal-housed lights, lending a soft music to the night. A lone figure moves through the darkness, unhurried and unbothered by the rain. The figure's shape is just barely visible at the edge of the lamplight when the flame suddenly winks out. The figure moves forward, and then the next lamp and the next go dim and are snuffed out. Finally, the hidden figure stands in the darkness before the front door of Sofie, Inga's daughter. Beneath the porch, safe from the rain, they withdraw an envelope. They place it delicately against the door, and then lay a single white lily next to it. The figure grasps the door knocker and beats at a quick staccato rhythm before disappearing into the night. In the flurry of activity in the house that follows over the next few minutes, a candle in the window barely provides enough light to see the writing on the front of the envelope. It reads, Til min elske datter, or to my beloved daughter. But we'll get to the contents of that letter next time.
What?
See, I thought you won the Publishers Clearinghouse.
I assumed that it was somebody writing to contact me about the mortgage that I have with...
Have you considered a double mortgage or reverse mortgage?
We're contacting you about your car's extended warranty.
Oh my god.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. Our theme song is Myths and Legends by Robert Bruckmeyer, which is playing right now. Our music is by Andreas Lundström, and you can hear more of his work on the Sweden Rolls podcast. Link in the show notes. Our editor is Hannah Cheney. If you're enjoying this show, please take 2 minutes to rate and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. I know every podcast says it, but it really does make a difference and helps us continue to grow the show. Finally, remember the motto of the library. Fear gives way to knowledge. Knowledge gives way to wisdom. And wisdom gives way to the truth. Until next time.